where Japan has scored 4 or more goals in a match. KJ, we were also keeping our eye on Mauro Biello. Yes, this is his first time in charge and only had a few days with the squad, but he said he wants this job to be permanent. So when you look at everything as a whole, what do you take away from this match?
I think they'll be very disappointed in the manner in which they gave away the goals. I think ultimately they know where they are and where they stand, and we all know where Japan stand. And look, you know, to give up 4 goals to a Japanese team is ultimately not too disrespectful in terms of criticizing Canada. I mean, as I said, we talked about Turkey and Germany doing that recently, who've got far more talented players than we do at the moment, unfortunately. So to give up 4 goals, I don't think is a major surprise. I just think the manner in which they gave up the goals will be disappointing. Obviously, one inside 2 minutes was very preventable. A couple of the goals were very preventable, an own goal as well in there, Jordan. So I think ultimately the outcome shouldn't be a major surprise, but how they got there will probably not be something they'll be satisfied with.
Yeah, I think when you're looking at the game too, I think second to second balls, I think Japan were all over the pitch. They came with they were dynamic, they were electric, and I think Canada was just a bit, obviously the slow start didn't help, but they were just also the little brother today. I think obviously you're playing a team in Japan that are very good. They are very good, but I think Canada made it hard for themselves. This is a game where you talk about energy and players to maybe step up and show that they want to be there. And it just looked a bit too lethargic. And you can't make those mistakes against a team like Japan that will hurt you.
Let's go through those goals. And you mentioned, KJ, they score in the second minute, Japan does. So that's a terrible start for Canada. Tanaka getting that. What did you see from the Canadians?
Yeah, we broke it down a little bit at halftime. Let's do this something similar. I know people are waking up different times all around this great country of ours. So if you missed some of it, Canada started with the back 3, which is the 3 here, as we alluded to earlier. Johnston, Cornelius, Kamal Miller, and then you've got your wing backs, Richie Larea and Alphonso Davies. Then you got your midfielder, Sam Piette, Kone, and Jonathan David, and then up front you main men David and Laren. But I want to focus in particularly about the half spaces, and this is where half spaces, when I talk about in between the lines, where Japan really got a lot of their danger today. This is just inside 2 minutes, and Alphonso Davies is playing in that wing back position. Just watch as we play it through here a little bit about how it evolves. And at that point, you can see the half space. We'll pause it there, right there, straight away. You know, as you see right away in that half space, you know, it's a fantastic run, and already Davies is in trouble at that point. There's no pressure on the ball. And at that point, as the wing back, as we play it through again, then he's not really linked up with the back 4, and it goes beyond him. So that's a disappointment right away. Minamino's an exceptional player, great run off the ball. But after that, Jordan, we can pause it here just a little bit. There's a few opportunities here. When Derek Cornelius plays that pass into Alphonso Davies, Japan have got 1, 2, 3, 4 players, 5 players out of control of that. And that's an ability for Canada to transition. But unfortunately, it doesn't go their way.
Yeah, the quality wasn't there. And I think also, too, KJ, with this play, you see Davies with the ball, a guy you'd want the ball on the left side. But we're still defending for Canada, right? You're still in your defensive third in that area. They attack. And when we talk about self-inflicted wounds, this is what we mean. There are opportunities here to clear the ball. Piette has the ball. This is an inside-the-foot clearance. He puts laces to it. It goes 5 yards in front of him. Again, Cornelius, that is one to clear your lines, step everyone up 20 yards. And again, deflection, Miriam Boyan can't do much about it, but this is in Canada's control. And this is what I meant, Andy, when I said that we made it harder for ourselves today for Canada. These are moments where you could clear your lines, and yes, Japan is good, but you kind of gave them the opportunity to be successful.
Yeah, the one thing that will be disappointing for the coaching staff is, look, we all know what's happened. They've had to go, you know, many of these players were playing Sunday in Europe, had to travel out there. They had 1.5 days of training. That was it, basically, to get ready for this. But they will have been saying, make sure you start well. You know, it has to be said that John Herdman used to call his own team out for that. You know, we need to be better at starts. And so that will be something that will be a bit concerning for Canada in terms of just being aware to start the game better. Because obviously the preparation wasn't ideal. Nobody's fault on that. It's just a manner of the football calendar. But ultimately, it wasn't an ideal start.
Well, and Japan is saying start well because this team is traveling. A lot of their players came in on Monday, probably jet lag tired, and of course, they got the start that they wanted. Canada did have a chance to tie it up, though, if we take you to the 22nd minute. This also happens to be the all-state save of the match because Davies manages to draw the penalty here, gets tripped up by Osako. Jonathan David would be the one, KJ, to step up and take the penalty, but Osako, not to be fooled, gets the leg out and kicks it as David tried to go up the middle.
Yeah, it could have been a different game if Jonathan David had scored it. It's an exceptional save. And there's absolutely, you know, I think when you look at the save, he stands up and he's aware of it. You know, ultimately, when you break it down and Jonathan David goes to take it, he takes a look at the goalkeeper and he thinks he's going to move. And when we take another look at it, you can just see what I mean by this is Jonathan David, you know, he's already looking at the goalkeeper, but look how tall OneSoccer is. He's not guessing at this moment. David just scored a penalty recently for Lille where the goalkeeper guessed. And so as we play it through again here, and we're going to pause it just before he takes the ball and strikes it, he's looking up at the goalkeeper and then he looks down, and as he hits it, you can see what that body language tells you there is there's not a lot of ferocity behind the strike. He's got his head over the ball at that point. So obviously the head's over the ball going forward. The goalkeeper is still standing tall. And if he's reading his body language at that point, Jordan, he does not have the ability to strike it with a lot of power and put it in either corner. So I think the goalkeeper reads it at that point. And as I said earlier, I don't think long-term that's a major concern. It just happens to be that OneSoccer gets the better of David in this moment as we play it through.
No, it's a great point that you make, KJ. Also with his hips, right? His gait, like it's very tight.
Yeah.
So for him, he needs to kind of open up so he can pick a corner there. But look, you gamble to go down the middle. You probably just wish that he put some height to it. But again, the kick save by OneSoccer, to have it go like that and over the bar, it's a phenomenal save.
We've seen penalty kicks scored like that before, many times going up the middle, because you know inevitably the keeper will come off of his line. They always make a decision. So yes, to your point, that is a great save by OneSoccer.
I think the Canadians at home, the one thing they would say, and maybe they're screaming at us, is that we all know the history, right? Alfonso misses the penalty in the World Cup. People wanted Jonathan David to take it. So because there's almost that pent-up frustration of, okay, someone else is taking it, you almost want him to take that energy and then just put his foot through it. You know, that's what you want. And that's what he does a lot of the time. As I said, he's an excellent penalty taker. You know, his record is beyond 85% conversion rate in the last 3 seasons. So, look, as long as we don't I don't want it to become a side story. He should be the penalty taker. He just happened to get beaten by a very good save.
I think Canadians just feel a little jaded as well because of what happened even at the women at the World Cup, right? When it comes to penalty kicks, we just feel like we're a little cursed right now. So, yeah, you want to be able to break that. But let's take a look at Japan's second goal. That comes in the 40th minute. It's actually an own goal by Canada. And with Davies here, I'm curious to just get your opinion. Do you think that this was unlucky the way the ball takes a bounce, or do you think maybe he was a little too casual in getting back?
Yeah, let's get started in a second. I'm going to pause it right here, first of all. And this is what Jordan was just alluded to earlier about second balls and tempo and why Canada had a little bit of a sloppiness here. And I want to highlight one player here, Tanaka, easily the best player in the field, and somebody else here in Kone. So at this point, as it recycles, watch this as it unfolds, and we'll get to the Davies in a second. But what I mean about this is just the intensity. And at the top level, Tanaka, who plays in Germany, Kone's not been playing enough. This is all it takes. Watch through and just watch that matchup. Watch what he does here. Kone's got him there. It's a split second, and look at the movement off the ball, and he's gone. And look at the distance already. Pause it there now. And look at that distance already inside 3 seconds, how he's got away from him. He's gone. It's done. And so we can get to everything else in a second about Alfonso Davies, but all of a sudden you've got them all going back to goal, right? This is, they're scrambled. The back three is scrambled. It's just not competent defending at that point because it's an unnecessary giveaway and the midfielder's not tracked him. At that point, Jordan, we can get to how it happened with Davies and the unlucky bounce.
Yeah, it's game over at that point. Then you're scrambling, right? And I think for me, when you're looking at Alfonso Davies, it's so unlucky, but his positioning is almost, he's still a bit too casual. You're on your 6-yard, you're in your 6-yard box. This is that moment you should get ready to clear, and maybe that's what he's gonna do. And he gets that unlucky bounce, but you just probably thinking he's the best player on the pitch. You just want him to be a bit more assertive in those defensive positions. Because as a wingback, you are teetering on the line of, yes, we're going to go forward. But when you're in the box, you have to defend. And I saw that deficiency tonight. We saw that deficiency too many times with Canada.
Nakamura gets the brace for Japan. 42nd minute he scores, as well as the 49th. As we take a look at those goals, and you just kind of also talked about the three at the back, and I know a lot of people even heading into this game said, please don't do that. Canada will get too exposed. A lot of the fans didn't want to see the 3-5-2 because of how Canada's been burned in the past. Do you think that's something that needs to be addressed, KJ, when you look at even these other goals?
Yeah, I can understand why people have concerns. I like the three. Because for me, you get a little bit more defensive solidity. You protect the defense, particularly the man in the middle with the three there. And you also allow David and Laren to play in their positions. So there's a lot of benefits elsewhere. But these goals are not good, in particular the way that they give the ball away. You can see they're in control of the possession here. And look, you know, Johnston just gets beat by pace at this point. I don't think that's a back three problem. Maybe Alistair Johnston wouldn't be in that position. You could argue he's a fullback if he's not playing a back three. I can certainly take on that argument. But at that point, it's a simple press and he gives the ball away. So, I don't know what you think, Jordan. You played the position, what you think about the 3 versus 4. But this is a combination goal Japan scored. They score a lot of these goals. They didn't score a lot of these goals tonight that way, but this is a combination goal.
I think with the 3, Andy, to your point, there are spaces that could get exploited. I think when you are playing the 3, you have to just be so sound of who goes, when you go, are we going to shift. If it's done right, I think it could be effective. But I think the problem and the issue tonight with Canada, I keep saying tonight because it's tonight there, but today...
The day hasn't even really started.
Right?
In
it feels like night. But look, I think it's the fact that when they are going, Canada, and they are pressing, they're not pressing together. It's one player going. Even when you look at Alphonso Davies, the first goal, he goes, but everyone else stays. There's still a big gap. So whether you play the 4 or the 3, you still have to move together. And that just hasn't been happening for Canada today.
If people want them to play a back 4, where do you want to play Alphonso Davies? Left back? If that's the case, then he's going to have to defend more than he's even defending right now. And you're further away from being that rampaging left back. Because when you play teams like this, we want Japan to start playing better. We want Canada to play teams of better quality. So you're not going to have the ball as much. So you can't play the transitional game quite as much. They're playing a bit more of a medium block. So are we committing if a back 4 is Alphonso Davies, a left back? And then are we dropping one of David and Larin? Because if that's the case, with Buchanan coming in, who's going to play on the other side of the left? So then you're going to have a left winger in front of Alphonso Davies. And then people will start saying, well, no, let's just play Adekubi. And then we're back to the debate again where Davies is playing left wing.
Look, quickly, this is not a Canada problem. This is an international problem when you come to football. You want to get your best players on the pitch. So you have to get a formation that gets your best players on the pitch. To your point, KJ, if you do that in a 4-3-3, someone's going to get sacrificed. Who is that person that you want coming off the bench? I want all of them to play. I want all the best stars to play for Canada, and you go there. I just think things need to be tightened up a little bit in that 3-5-2.
Well, the consolation is Canada does disrupt the clean sheet for Japan. Junior Hoylett, who comes in as a substitute, manages to get the goal in the 89th minute. I mean, obviously, KJ, this is too little, too late. Consolation.
Yeah, my thought was, first of all, great to see Junior score, and he always finds ways to play well for Canada. I think he's a really impact substitution and a great finisher. The other thing I think is it's quite a fitting scoreline. Ultimately, they lost 4-1 5 years ago to the United States in November, and that was a real line in the sand for them to get better. They lost 4-1 to Croatia a year ago, and that was another line in the sand to get better as a development. And now we lose 4-1 to Japan. All learning lessons. And, ultimately, this is a tough team. These are games Canada has to play. And the 4-1 against the United States became a pivotal game. The 4-1 against Croatia continues to be a development game we can learn from. And this is the same.
We'll see what ends up happening after this one, that's for sure, because those 2 crucial games are coming up in November. As you take a look at the full-time stats brought to you by Toyota, 19 shots total for Japan, 8 on target. Needless to say, the Canadians and Milan Borjan were very busy here today. It's a 4-1 loss for Canada in this friendly. Broke down all those goals for you. We'll talk more about Canada a little later on in the show, but when we return, there's some other great footy being played in this great country. It's the Canadian Premier League playoffs, which have begun. We'll take you through the first playoff game that's already been played and the 2 that will make up the doubleheader on Saturday. Stay with us here on OneSoccer.
Thank you, Canada, for making dreams come true. We're with you all the way.
This is EFCO Field at Spruce Meadows. It is known as the home of the Classics. It is now known as the home of the 2023 Canadian Premier League regular season winners. And Cavalry, they've won 4 games on the bounce, unbeaten in their last 8 matches. Has been complete and utter domination from this Cavalry Football Club side. Perfect conditions on an autumn afternoon in Calgary, and we are underway. Mercy's ball into a dangerous area. This time it pays off for the home side. Ali Musi, and it's absolutely inch perfect. Dan Klopp soars through the air and redirects that one past Emil Gazdov. Bevan guides it down. This is Ben Fisk. Bevan keeps himself open. And Ray tried to play it to him. Here's Bevan. Bevan takes the deflection, and he scored! The last item on the checklist. Bevan moves into a share of the Golden Boot title. The Edmund Meyer stands for Midas, and Cavalry go up by 2-0. As regular season winners, the highest scoring outfit, the fewest goals conceded in the league, and it has been an absolute showcase.
It's everything for us. As one of the originals, someone who's been here since the start, I mean, look what we've built, right? It's been something we've been working towards for 5 years now, and to be able to cap it off, get that silverware, and again, just celebrate it with our fans.
I mean, the boys, we came in from the start committed to a plan, I think, and everyone outside of the field gets on really well. I think that's been a big part of this year.
So special. Just to be able to share this with the people that I love and that I just adore, it's very special.
It's all credit to the guys around us. Look, it's great to win it in front of our fans, but the players have been brilliant this year. Our coach has been brilliant, and our ownership has never stopped believing.
And the Cavs and their supporters get an afternoon to remember.
Well, the smile on Tommy Wheeldon Jr.'s face and all the players says it all. That was a huge regular season victory for them. They have a trophy in the trophy case. They finished first on the year. They will take on second place Forge at 5 p.m. ET. The first of the doubleheader, though, will see Pacific travel to Halifax after being at home midweek against York United. They defeated York with a 91st minute goal. Now they got to go cross country to Halifax. But before we talk about that match, we got the two big dogs, KJ, in Cavalry and Forge. Forge, as we know, 3-time CPL champions. Cavalry, perennial contenders. But what's missing, though, of course, is that playoff trophy. What are you making of this matchup? And do you feel, as I have been on record saying, that despite this incredible win for Cavalry as regular season champs, there's still some demons to be exorcised in the playoffs?
Oh, yeah, 100%. And I think that's part of the motivation for them, no? I mean, they are champions, they are winners. They've spent that, 24 hours celebrating, but then it's straight to business. And the focus is on the old enemy, right? The team that keeps knocking them out in knockout football. It is a qualifying semi-final. They both deserve the right for that. So the winner will host the final and the loser will get to host that second semi-final next week. So there's that second chance. But Cavalry have no intention of playing in that game. Cavalry have been by far and away the best team in the CPL this season. And I think by far and away better than Forge. Forge are very consistent and they know when it matters. that they can deliver. But they're going to have to find another gear or two for me if they're going to be able to beat Cavalry tomorrow.
Yeah, Cavalry definitely going in with better form. Forge, I think, coming in after losing a couple games. Pacific, they weren't coming in the greatest of form either. I mean, this was a team that almost challenged Cavalry for first in the regular season. Suddenly they find themselves finishing in fourth. As I mentioned, 91st minute goals, what's needed to defeat the fifth place team, York. Now they got to cross the country, Jordan, and take on Halifax Wanderers. Are the Wanderers then the favorites for you?
Yeah, I think they're favorites. I think they have depth. They have a clear identity. I think for me, watching this season with UKJ, every single game, nearly, tuning in, they play the second best brand of football in the CPL, right? They know how they want to attack. They know how they want to go forward, how they want to defend. They have big names in the team, big personalities. So they are the favorite. I think with Pacific as well, going into this match, I think they just need to embrace that underdog mentality, right? You played York United a few days ago where you should have won and you scraped the win and you got it. But you won. That's all that matters at the end of the day. Now you're underdogs, you're playing at Wanderers ground. Embrace that. Say, look, we just need to be on our best behavior and we can go further and we can surprise everyone in this league. So it'll be a really interesting game.
It will, and by the end of Saturday, we will know who's hosting the CPL final for 2023. So enjoy that doubleheader on Saturday. The playoffs, always an exciting time. Mascots, they are just the cutest things, aren't they? I mean, just giving us a little wave, why not? That mascot's feeling pretty good because their team walked away with a 4-1 victory here today. Japan over Canada. When we come back, though, we'll look ahead to those two crucial matches at the end of November.
To play. It's something that's in us from the very beginning, and something we take with us on every step of the journey. When we have no words, it gives us a way to speak. When we are still finding our way in the world, it gives us somewhere to belong. And no matter who we are or where we come from, it gives us the right to dream. It's time to celebrate the game we love. It's time to play.
Degree 72-hour non-stop protection. Antiperspirant with motion sense. Tested to the limit. Degree keeps working when others stop.
Welcome back to Matchday Live, presented by CIBC. Canada will be in action again at the end of November. Nations League games. Their opponent, they should find out in the next week or so who that will be. November 16th and 21st. We also know that these act as qualifiers for Copa America. So given this friendly that we just watched, which was a 4-1 victory for Japan over Canada, Canadians getting that one goal in the 89th minute, courtesy of Junior Hoylett, who came on as a substitute. What needs to be cleaned up, KJ, to make you feel comfortable for these November matches?
Maybe whatever's bothering Steph Eustáquio right now. That'd be clean that up first, because that would make me feel a lot better. To be honest, he's a irreplaceable player, and in every aspect, it doesn't matter what we're talking about: formations, high press, middle block, tactic. You know, he's the one who can play out of pressure. He's the one who can control a game. He can play passes into the front two. He just reads the game quicker. He's Canada's great anticipator, and he sees things before they develop. So that is a player that is simply, you know, incredibly missed in a game like today. So that needs to be cleaned up. And the other thing is Tajon Buchanan. You know, he's not there either right now, and he brings real pace and puts a lot of pressure on the opposition. So that, you know, hopefully Tajon playing in both those in that as well. Look, today was concerning a little bit, but it's the manner in which that they gave away those goals that I think they would be concerned. But it's a tough opponent, and they move on. Look, this is a big window in November. It could be Jamaica, which is going to be a big threat to them. They've struggled against them away from home, and that'll be the first leg. And people talk about Copa America, and that's enormous as well. But for Canada, they've been talking about being the big dogs in CONCACAF for a while. If they don't make the Final Four of Nations League, that does not send a good message either.
Yeah, we can't have Canada regressing in the slightest way. You got to be playing in these big games.
Region, yeah.
You got to be the big dogs. You have to be. I think today, too, Andy, when you're looking at it, it's
Get
just
out your
like,
broom. What do they need to clean up?
I think we'll start from the beginning, slow start. You got to be cleaner, right? These clips are from the first bit in the match, right? For me, KJ, you've watched the game as well, Andy, for so long. The first 10 minutes, like, it's usually just scrappy. But this was just slow. Look at Cornelius here, playing the ball back to Milan Borjan. He plays it out of bounds. Like, when another team, they smell this, that you're just trying to play this again in the first 6-7 minutes of the match. Right? If you're starting at Canada and you're not playing well, air it out. Kick the ball long, like deeper than that pass, right? They're just slow, they're a bit lethargic. The tempo's not right, sloppy passes, right? Look at that, gambling in your defensive third. This is just not good enough. I think, for me, we can talk about tactics and how you want to play, but there's just certain principles in football. And one of them for Canada, which is struggled with today, was just reading the room. Like, there's tempo, there's time to air out the passes. Look at this from Kamal Miller. Right? That is not a clearance. Now that leads to a counterattack, and Canada's fragmented. Good thing Victoria came here and cleaned up, but that's a situation where easily Canada could have been 5-1, it could have been 6-1. They just need to be sharper on the ball.
Yeah, they do. I mean, midfield for me remains the major concern. I know people want to talk about back three, back four, but ultimately, if you don't have technicians in there, like Japan had technicians the entire game, both feet, comfortable, they're built big, they're very mobile on the ball. They can't shrug them off very easily. Canada can be quite weak in there physically, and so how do you combat that? You've got to have technicians, right? You've got to be able to keep the ball, and they struggled with that the entire time, you know, and that's been a big concern for me. The balance of the team's a little bit off as well. So look, it wasn't a good night. There's a lot of things to be cleaned up, but as I said, if Eustáquio and Buchanan come back, that will certainly be helpful.
All right, 4-1 the final here, Canada. We hope to get your day started off a little bit better, but this is a friendly. Now Mauro Biello, the interim head coach, will go to the drawing board and see what he needs to rectify for those crucial matches coming up at the end of November. Meantime, we're going to see the women in action October 28th and October 31st right here on OneSoccer. That's going to be a great weekend, by the way, because that's also the CPL final. Lots of soccer going on in this country. On behalf of Christian Jack, Jordan Wilson, I'm Andy Petrillo. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.
To play. It's something that's in us from the very beginning.